While IT's revenue is up, hiring's still stalled. Seattle and Silicon Valley are starting to duke it out again over talent, and Washington, D.C. is starting to look more seriously at cloud computing solutions and private sector security solutions. I'm Mark Pfeffer, and this is the DICE News Update for Tuesday, July 5th, 2011. So IT growth is up, but hiring is still stalled. A KPMG survey of C-level executives found that hardware and software companies expect to see most of their revenue this year come from the United States. That's a change from the last 2 years, when it came mostly from China and India. But at the same time, these executives aren't expecting as much hiring as there was a year ago. Last year, about 72% figured on an increase in their company's headcounts. This year, only 49% predict a headcount increase. Overall, 27% of them said headcount was back to or even better than pre-recession levels. 42% say that headcount will get to pre-recession levels sometime over the next 18 months. And then the most pessimistic people, 21%, said that they don't see headcount ever getting back to where it was before the recession. So Mark Zuckerberg was in Seattle to recruit engineers for Facebook's Seattle office. Remember, they opened that office so Facebook could stop recruiting people in Seattle and then have to move them to Palo Alto. Zuckerberg says there's an abundance of tech talent in Seattle, and he also likes what he calls the city's really good startup scene. I guess it's just another shot in the war between Seattle and Silicon Valley. There also was one last week on the business front. Microsoft has finally unveiled a real competitor to Google Docs. It's called Office 365. Is it a little too late? Well, Microsoft says no. Google Apps, which is the system that contains Google Docs, is used by 3 million organizations and 30 million people. But Office has about 1 billion users around the world. So now it's the question. Is it time to upgrade from Google Apps to Office 365? Google's product, remember, is free. There's a fee for using Office 365. It's really up to you and your company. Reviewers say that Office 365 isn't perfect. There are some fixes that need to be made, but we all know that if Microsoft has nothing else, they've got staying power. It's worth checking out. Okay, so let's go from Washington State to Washington, D.C. The Pentagon is softening its hard line on the cloud. While it once was unimaginable for the Defense Department to embrace cloud-based computing because of its obvious security concerns, that attitude may be changing. Defense leaders still say its culture is a barrier to cloud services and virtualization, but a recent survey indicates that those beliefs are evolving as agencies seek to save money and become more efficient. The same thing's happening in another area, that's security. Specifically, the federal government is embracing new public-private partnerships in security technology, and they're doing it more than ever before. A couple of weeks ago, the Department of Homeland Security told the Security Industry Association's Government Summit that there's a new mindset in D.C. that asks, why does the federal government have to spend so much money developing products that the private sector would be happy to develop and would probably do better, faster, cheaper? It's a good question. Well, that's all I got for this week. Kat Miller's going to be back tomorrow with another edition of DICE TV, and I'll be back on Tuesday. If you remember the blog post I mentioned last week where I was asking you whether your comments on our blog were just venting in frustration or if you really meant a lot of the things you said, there's quite a discussion going on over there. I've put the link below, so tap on over and check it out. I'm Mark Pfeffer, the senior editor of the DICE Blog Network, and we now return you to your regular desktop.